We got some news from all over the place today, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. Just a heads up, we are going to be live, kind of a rare one, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be watching the Red Sox, hopefully try and turn things around against this Arizona Diamondbacks team. I know we're not used to Saturday live streams, but I figured we'd throw one in here. Anyways, I don't want to talk about last night. The Red Sox were kind of miserable. The bullpen was kind of miserable. Offense really couldn't get a ton done, even though they scored 5 runs. And we're just not going to talk about it. So instead, what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to focus on some news that's coming out of the Red Sox organization, both at the major league level and the minor league level as well. And I wanted to start with a promotion that we kind of didn't talk about. And that is that the Red Sox have promoted their number 2 prospect and the number 23 prospect in the entire sport, according to MLB Pipeline, up to AA. Now, this was actually broken by the Portland Sea Dogs themselves, which is kind of funny. You never really see the actual team get the report first, so kind of interesting that happened. But I do owe one of you guys an apology. We had a commenter the other day talking about Corbin Franklin Arias only has 3 games in AAA. I came back and tried to dunk on him, saying, no, dude, he has 19. Well, I was looking at his age and not the amount of games he's played in AA, so to whoever that was, I genuinely apologize. An honest mistake. But regardless, this is good news for Red Sox fans, right? Because Franklin Arias is not only one of the most exciting prospects the Red Sox have, but he's a guy who's now one step closer to Major League Baseball, and this is going to be a really big step in his development. Now, in High A, he wasn't exactly incredible, especially compared to what he was doing in Low A, but it was still a pretty solid few games. In 87 games down at the High A level, he was hitting .265 with a .329 on base percentage and a .380 slug for a 108 WRC+, slightly above league average by about 8%. But what he was doing was he was making a ton of contact. His strikeout rate was incredibly low at 8.9%, while he was walking basically the same amount at 8.2%. What that shows to me is a real feel of the strike zone, and a real feel of the strike zone at just 19 years old is a really good sign that despite the fact that maybe you aren't seeing the sort of eye-popping everyday back of the baseball card numbers here, that Franklin Arias is still really developing well in minor league baseball. And to be honest with you, if you're looking for power numbers, Franklin Arias really hasn't ever done that in his minor league career, right? He's always sort of had the ability to get on base. He's always sort of had this gap-to-gap power where he's always going to hit a pretty decent amount of doubles, but he's never been one of these guys who's going to hit 35, 40 home runs, right? That's never been his projection. So to see these power numbers sort of dip a little bit does make a little bit of sense. Now, to be honest with you, it's not like he's outside of the ordinary not hitting the ball out of the yard. In fact, he did have 6 home runs at the High A level, which matches his career high at any professional level. You're sitting there and you're saying, okay, well, the power really isn't or really hasn't been there for Franklin Arias, but that doesn't mean he's not an exciting prospect, right? You combine the fact that he has a fantastic glove. He's a really, really great defensive player. In fact, he's one of those guys where, you know, when you get these shortstops and you sit there and you're like, hey, man, they really only drafted him because he's athletic, and then he'll end up moving to left field or second base or third base or first base or whatever it might end up being. Franklin Arias isn't really in that category. He's so good defensively, in fact, that a lot of people are saying that he's going to be a really great defensive player at the major league level at that shortstop position. The other thing here is you talk about it, and there is still room for Franklin Arias to get that raw power. He hits the ball pretty hard. He just simply doesn't hit it with enough arc to get over fences, right? But he's only 19. There's still plenty of time for him to take a step forward between now and when he debuts in Major League Baseball, but this is going to be a real test for him. AA, as we talk about all the time, is the second hardest jump a prospect makes in any professional setting. It's this, and then it's obviously the jump to Major League Baseball, which is obviously always going to be the hardest thing that any prospect ever does. But AA is where most of the top 100 prospect resides. It's where most of the most talented pitching prospects reside, right? He's going to be facing not only the best talent amongst every prospect in Major League Baseball, he's also going to be facing most likely the best raw stuff on the mound that he's ever going to see until he gets to Major League Baseball. So we're about to see what Franklin Arias is made of, right? This is where prospects really start to make a name for themselves nationally, right? I think Red Sox fans have always been paying attention to this guy, but even though he's the top 20-ish, 25 prospect in the sport, you don't really hear his name mentioned all that much. This is where he can start to do that. And I think it is pretty incredible that the Red Sox, who just graduated Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony, and Christian Campbell, we can now sit here, we could talk about another crop of prospects who are now in the top 100, right? We saw Joe Stinson this year. We've seen Peyton Tolley last night. Now we've got Franklin Arias making another step towards Major League Baseball. It's just like this pipeline right now is just producing this top 100 prospect talent that's exciting to talk about. Franklin Arias is still a pretty decent ways away here. I wouldn't start buying a Franklin Arias Red Sox jersey or anything. He's projected right now to come up sometime in 27. I think maybe you see him at the end of 2026 if he has just an electric come up over these next couple of months, right? He's only going to get probably about 15-ish games at the AA level before their season ends, and then next year he'll probably get, I would guess, 60, 70-ish AA games before he's brought up to AAA baseball. So 2027 feels about right, but again, you should be excited about this guy. He's a top 100 prospect talent. He's a great glove. He's an unbelievable contact bat, and he's got the potential to add some power, and if he does, he could end up being a legitimate 4 or 5 tool athlete that the Red Sox now have to figure out where he's going to play in the system. So I'm excited about this, and I think you guys should be too, but it's not the only thing I wanted to talk about today. In fact, the other thing actually does impact the big league team, but before we get into that, a quick word from today's sponsor. Honestly, now that I'm a few more years out of college than I'd like to really admit, after a night of drinks, I simply just don't bounce back the next day like I used to. That is, until I found Pre-Alcohol. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking, and I get it. Honestly, I get it. I was a little bit skeptical about this thing at first, but I decided why not? I'll give it a shot, right? I took it my last time out at Fenway Park, and obviously the ensuing evening that came after that. And honestly, the next morning I felt really great. In fact, great enough to record this video just after that next day. So how does this whole thing work? Well, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct and not dehydration that's to blame for rough mornings after drinking. Pre-alcohol, it produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Listen, baseball, playoffs, football, they're all right around the corner. This is the perfect time of year to either go to a big game, put the game on your couch, and either way, you're probably raising a glass, right? Just remember, when you do, make Pre-Alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/RSR to learn more and get 15% off of your order when you use code RSR at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Again, remember to head over to zbiotics.com/RSR and use code RSR for 15% at checkout. Thank you very much to ZBiotics for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to the video. So while Franklin Arias, it's exciting, but it's a ways away, this one we can actually talk about and potentially impacting us in the next couple of days here, and that is the fact that Wilyer Abreu could be starting his road back to Major League Baseball. Now, if you guys don't remember, Wilyer Abreu started on the IL 16 days ago with what he was saying was just a quick injury, right? But multiple setbacks have kind of created this sort of monster injury that Wilyer Abreu's got to figure out how to get over, and right now it's been a little bit difficult. The last update we had was back in the Baltimore series. Wilyer Abreu tried to run, and when he tried to run, things did not go very well, and he was pretty much shut down from there. Well, yesterday, Alex Cora said, hey, we're at the point now where we're going to try that again. Basically, before yesterday's game, he said for the first time in over a week, Wilyer Abreu will attempt to sprint again, and I know that doesn't exactly sound like headline news or anything, but this is a legitimately big step in Wilyer Abreu's development. If he can get to a point where, even if he's at, 75, 80% okay, this could mean he's coming back very, very quickly, because right now, Wilyer Abreu isn't really scheduled to make any sort of rehab appearance because of the fact that not only is Worcester probably not going to be home by the time he's ready to go on a rehab assignment, but also because the Red Sox really need him back. They're going to say, look, if you're feeling good, we're going to ramp you up a little bit. We're going to get you in the cage, the traject machine. We're going to do everything we possibly can, and then you're just simply going to rejoin this team. In fact, if the Red Sox do feel as though he did well enough in this sprinting a bit in this sprinting, I don't know what to call it, showcase? I don't know, right? But either way, if they feel like he sprinted well enough, he could end up coming back really in this next homestand for the Red Sox, which is 6 games starting with the New York Yankees. And that's a really, really fantastic thing because this Red Sox team could really, really use Wilyer Abreu right now. With Roman Anthony sidelined for essentially the rest of the season, unless, I don't know, there's some miracle that takes place here, right? They're going to make movies about the fact that Alex Bregman, who looked great yesterday, is in a bit of a slump right now, and the fact that the Red Sox don't really have any true, legitimate power hitters outside of Trevor Story in their lineup right now, Wilyer Abreu sorely missed. I mean, this dude so far this season is hitting to the tune of a 253 average, a 325 on base percentage, and a 486 slug for an 811 OPS. In just his second full season at the Major League level, he's a 121 OPS plus. That's 21% above league average production, but more specifically, is the fact that he has 22 home runs on the season. Despite multiple stints on the IL, that's still the second most home runs on this Red Sox team. So you sit there and you say, boy, this Red Sox offense surely is not getting the job done lately, right? I mean, over the last couple of games, outside of last night, they're averaging, 2-3 runs a game? It would be really nice to have a guy who can go yard on you anytime you could think about it. And obviously, Wilyer's been successful in other ways too this season, I think. You know, the 16 doubles, he has 89 overall hits. He scored 52 runs, right? He's been a productive player in general for this team. And what we've seen over this year is that when he gets hot, he gets white hot. I mean, this dude becomes essentially Barry Bonds for 2 weeks, and then he just disappears for another 2 weeks. So if you can get 2 weeks of Wilyer Abreu's exceptional appearances here, all of a sudden you could put yourself in a much better spot. I mean, you look at 4, 5, 6 right now in the Red Sox order, and Nathaniel Lowe's been solid, but Masataka Yoshida has been nowhere to be found. You're kind of forcing in a Romy or a Ref Snyder. It'd be really nice to get a natural number 4, number 5 hitter in here. The Red Sox have one of the worst productions overall in that 4-hole spot in the entire sport this season. Wilyer can help you fix that, and I think getting him back would be an absolutely massive part to the Red Sox trying to be able to turn around this offense a little bit, or not even really turn it around, just simply get it to be more consistent. So the fact that you're getting close to getting him back is a really good sign, but I don't want to get ahead of myself, right? Obviously, if he comes in today and he sprints and he feels terrible, all of a sudden we're probably talking about him not coming back until potentially the last week of the season, maybe potentially for some sort of playoff berth if the Red Sox don't totally fumble this. But I do want to talk about him a little bit because, again, he's just so important to the Red Sox. Now, I am curious to see what kind of moves they make to get Wilyer back on this team. It feels like the obvious choice is Nate Eaton because he is that primary outfielder. You do have Ref Snyder on the team as well, but Eaton's been, outside of last night, pretty productive at the plate for the Red Sox. The other two options would be Ali Sanchez, a DFA of him, but the Red Sox feel clearly pretty confident when they have 3 catchers on their roster, even though they aren't really using Ali Sanchez in any capacity. It's mostly just a, hey, break glass in case of emergency guy. The other one would be Nick Sogard, who, you know, jack of all trades. I wouldn't be surprised to see him move either, but again, conversation for a different day. Overall, looking at all these news items, I know they're kind of not related in any sort of form, so it's kind of hard for me to give you like a synopsis at the end of this thing at all, but I think with Arias, I know a lot of people are just sort of, you know, not crazy paying attention to the farm system anymore. Once those big 3 got up here, it's like, okay, we got our guys. Anything that comes up after this will be an exciting surprise. But I do think people should start paying attention to Franklin Arias. He's got this sort of just star quality about him. He's got almost every single tool in his bag. He just simply needs to add power. And all of a sudden, we're talking about a potential 5-tool player. The fact that the Red Sox are being so aggressive with him leads me to believe they're thinking the exact same thing. And then obviously, Wilyer, this is exciting, right? If you can get him back, you feel much more confident with where the Red Sox offense is going to go the rest of the season. So I think overall, good news, right? Good news for this Red Sox team. Let me know what your thoughts are. What are you thinking about the Arias promotion? What do you think about the Wilyer update? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys hit the like button on this video as well. Don't forget, we are going to be live tonight right here on this channel, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. I'll see you tonight, and of course, in the red seats.